can you still do that and it still be funny? Have a scene that maybe isn't fully played for comedy and has a death in it, and then can you be funny after that? And I remember just saying, well, I don't know, let's just do it and see what happens. And what I found is people were very relieved when the comedy would come up. It's just kind of relief. It was almost like a very big laugh after a really awful scene.
I found that doing stand-up.
Yeah.
The audience was relieved when you were funny.
Yes.
Well, I think in your case, also surprised.
Yeah, right.
Hey there, welcome to the SAG-AFTRA Foundation's Conversation at Home program. I'm Jim Halterman, West Coast Bureau Chief of TV Guide magazine. Now it's my pleasure to introduce the SAG Awards nominees for Male Actor in a Comedy Series: Anthony Carrigan, Bill Hader, Steve Martin, and Martin Short. Thanks, guys, for joining me today, and congratulations on the nomination in this category.
Thanks. It's exciting.
Thank you. Thank you.
And it's
Very
very
exciting.
It's a very cutthroat race.
It-
I have seen, I'm not kidding, I have seen people in cars parked binoculars, timing, watching my every move.
Isn't that based on potential robbery of your
No,
apartment?
it's thugs. It's thugs that I believe are sent by Bill and Anthony. I really do.
Really?
Yeah.
Well, that's dark.
Yeah.
It is.
HBO people.
Yeah.
But that actually lends itself to my first question, which, I'm fans of these shows anyway, but I went and rewatched some key episodes that I remembered. And these are both dark worlds in a lot of ways. People die a lot in these shows, murders and whatnot. I wanted to ask, first of all, do you think that undercurrent of life and death stake actually lends itself well to comedy? It seems to have worked well, but what do you guys think as the artist? Bill, let me start with you, since you helped create this world of Barry.
Well, yeah, I mean, I don't know. With Barry, it was kind of just within what the storyline was. It's a hitman, trying to be an actor and trying to, see if he could be a human being. But I think by virtue of that, it had to be violent. It's just kind of what kind of violence you want to do, and we decided to make it
Brutal.
brutal.
Brutal. Just unforgivingly brutal.
Yeah, and see if that lends itself to comedy. And there was a lot of stuff, I don't know about you guys, but there was a lot of stuff about tone of that, like, can you still do that and it still be funny? Have a scene that maybe isn't fully played for comedy and has a death in it, and then can you be funny after that? And I remember just saying, well, I don't know, let's just do it and see what happens. And what I found is people were very relieved when the comedy would come up. It's just kind of relief. It was almost like a very big laugh after a really awful scene.
I found that doing stand-up.
Yeah.
The audience was relieved when you were funny.
Yes.
Well, I think in your case, also surprised.
Yeah, right. Well, actually, I don't know, is it my turn or are you just talking about Bill?
Go ahead, Steve.
I think comedy and crime goes way back. I mean, especially in the 20th century in film. You've got Mr. and
The
Mrs.
Thin Man
North.
is the 30s, yeah.
Thin Man, I would say Mr. and Mrs. North, and it just goes on and on. But now it's a modern world, and you can cut someone's head off and get a laugh.
Yeah, it was always that kind of, how big you go with a thing or whatever. And I mean, there was a kind of version of it where you go, do you do the kind of Monty Python, blood flying everywhere, the Black Knight scene type thing. But yeah, it's hard. Yeah, it's a weird, I don't know about you guys, if there was like these rules you kind of felt like with comedy that you can't go too far dark one way and still be funny. I know, just coming from Saturday Night Live, it was always a thing that'll bring the audience down. So we need to keep it here. You know what I mean?
We just did a piece, Steve and I hosted in December, and there was a piece that Colin Jost wrote, Scrooged, and it was flying off heads and coins and eyes and a lot of CGI, and it was funny. I mean, I'm not from that so much that I would have thought in advance, will this be funny? But the audience loved it, and it was funny. So I think taste and what you can do has changed, certainly since the Pythons.
Yeah, and I think as far as performance is concerned, you really ultimately have to kind of stay as invested with the really dark stuff, and then into the comedy, you have to even be like more doubled down on how into it you are. Because if you get tempted to kind of want to bring some lightness into it, you can easily just deflate the whole performance if you're going for a laugh.
That's true.
You actually have to really just go even deeper, and I find that, like, in the stuff that we do in Barry, I mean, it toes the line between this really intense stuff, and Bill is just particularly unforgiving in how he just leaves a shot on a very uncomfortable situation. And I find a lot of the time it's really surprising too, because it's so dark and so twisted, and you're just watching it and you're like, I need to look away. And sometimes the comedy's weirdly born out of that discomfort, but I agree. Once that kind of laugh comes, it's like a pressure release valve. And
is anyone else seeing? Oh,
What was that, Steve?
is anyone else seeing freezing images of Anthony? Is it just me? I got a message that said my internet connection is unstable. But,
Well, you're coming across fine.
Yeah, you sound fine. And
okay,
but
I guess I was sabotaging.
oh, did I freeze? I froze.
no, you didn't freeze to me.
Yeah, you're okay.
It's
Well,
a
I was
nightmare
going to
when
suggest.
you never know what face you're going to be making while you freeze.
Yeah, right. Well, I was going to suggest, and I have no idea if it's true, but in a comedy, it might be easier to go very dark than in a drama to crack a joke. I finished watching on HBO Max, I think it's a couple of years, a series called The Head. And it's about, it starts with the guy's head being cut off. And it's a drama. It's like whodunit, but it's a real drama. And I was just thinking, if somebody had said, well, another guy lost his head, it would not have fit or worked. It would have been ugly.
Yeah. Tell me about, as far as Anthony, you touched on this a little bit, as far as your performances, how much of it is coming directly from the script, or how much is it what you do with the script, especially in both of these worlds? Marty, do you want to start with that?
I think, a lot of what we do is exactly the script, to be quite honest. We have great writers, and, we'll maybe alter a line or, go a little bigger or smaller, but generally you kind of know from the tone how to do it. And it's from the script. I don't you think, Steve? I don't think we're changing a lot.
No, we don't. We might change a line internally, but we don't change structure or, big major bits. First, as you all know, you can't really just make that kind of change on the fly.
Yeah.
Because something
you have to respect the writers. I mean, the writers spend a lot of time doing it. So you have
sometimes, I'll say, hey, what if we did this, this way? And they'll say, well, we can't because in episode 7, so-and-so happens. So, you go, oh, I should read those scripts.
Okay.
Yeah. It's hard. That's the hard thing also, having to tell an actor that, where you go, like, someone will be like, can I chew gum in this scene? And I go, well, in the next scene, someone's chewing sunflower seeds. Have 2 people chewing.
Yeah.
And then the resentment. I don't know, Steve, because you write it as well. I mean, do you ever feel resentment from the scene partners when you are acting with them and you have to give notes?
Give notes to the acting.
Just like when you're acting with somebody and you go, oh, no, just make sure we're trying to get this story across or anything like that.
Well, the only person I really reprimand is Marty.
Mhm.
Right.
I'll say, you're going to do it like that?
Yeah. Like,
No, I don't.
2 feet away from you. You don't need to be shouting, that kind of thing.
Yeah. Like,
I don't know, I
I'll
never
take a
really
weird note, like bring it down, whatever that means.
Well, let me ask you guys this: are table reads happening virtually these days? Are you guys back together to do table reads? How is that happening? Because that's where a lot of the at least creative stuff starts once you're all reading the script together.
We do Zooms.
Yeah.
Still.
And a table read is good. It's the only way we can make sure that Marty has read the script. Is that we read it alongside him and watch his eyes.
My mouth moving with each word.
Yeah.
Oh, I get to eat in this scene.
Yeah. Bill, how about with Barry? Oh, go ahead, Anthony.
We stop table reads. We actually just do these rehearsals now where we bring everybody in and they've read the script, and then we kind of talk about the scene and we'll read it together, and then I'll start rewriting and kind of going, oh, well, maybe we do try this. Does that make sense? And even down to like, because sometimes we're writing it so fast that the actors will go, okay, in your head, this sounds great, but I can't spit this line out, or I can't do this, or could I say it maybe this way? And and that's actually a lot of fun because we bring the day players in too. And so it's everybody around the room, everybody kind of has, a say, and then sometimes great jokes will come out of that. I'm trying to think of something last season where something came out in the table read that was kind of, Liz Sarnoff with the dogs, or she said, where we were like, oh, all these Henry Winkler's in the backyard and these dogs attack him. And Liz Sarnoff, one of our writers, we have her playing this with a couple, and she and her girlfriend are breaking up. And that line of, why are you breaking up with me? And she says, because you have too many dogs. Like that came out of that thing, so that's fun.
Yeah. I just actually watched that scene, and I wanted to ask about that because then I also watched the finale where Anthony's character goes through a horrific scene where he's really worried he's going to die because he hears all these death happening in the other room and he doesn't see what's happening, but he can hear it. Just the juxtaposition that those scenes can exist in the same show is fascinating to me. Anthony, tell me about playing both sides of the coin, because sometimes NoHo Hank is just funny. And then in a scene like that, it's horror, and he's literally afraid he's going to die.
Yeah, it's interesting. I think like one really lends itself to the other. I think I love playing these scenes where that it's just ridiculous. I mean, in the scene, essentially before he gets captured and put in this cell, he's watching a man on the street like build a blow dart gun. He's just watching him do it, and he knows that he has an idea that what's coming, and yet he's so polite that he just can't bring himself to like assume anything. So he just watches him do it, and it's a really funny scene. But then it's on the other side of it, you see just like what happens when you're that naive in the world of crime. Like you actually do get yourself into like serious trouble, and I think the show really showed just how dark it could go, and how his like naivete was punished. But yeah, that scene was so much fun to shoot. It was just me and Bill. Bill was like right here on my face.
Well, I have to give Anthony credit. He's not reacting to anything except me explaining things to him. There was no sounds or anything. I'm going, okay, so it's a panther, and I'm saying it like this. I'm giving.
I just snapped back into it. I was like,
yeah. There's a panther, and now there's this, and he did that amazing. We did one take of it. I was like, I don't know how you get any better.
Wow, that's amazing. How beneficial is it when you are writing, directing, or executive producing the show outside of just acting in it? Because you can step in when something doesn't feel right. You're not just the actor, so to speak. Because Bill, you're writing, you're directing. Is that easy to like change those hats, and does it help with your performance, or is it all separate for you?
No, it's kind of just like one big job, and I don't know, Marty and Steve, maybe it came for me just being at Saturday Night Live for so long, because you would write your pieces, and then you produce your pieces, and those things, and you kind of, I kind of came into this from that thing, you kind of just know like, oh, well, that, you have an idea and you see it through and you go through all the departments and everything like that. So, but directing especially has always been a thing that I've always wanted to do. So as just a movie fan, but no, it's all kind of one thing. I don't know. Do you guys agree with that or have had that?
Well, I mean, in my case, I've done specials and done SNL where you do exactly what you're describing. In our show right now, though, I'm really loving being this actor who, obviously is allowed creative input, but it's, today I'm like learning lines and going over them and imagining how I might do something. I'm thrilled with that role right now.
And, Marty and I are both the executive producers on our show, and we still can't get the call sheet for the next day.
No, absolutely. We're probably the most important
executive producer.
Yeah.
Can I get a call sheet?
No, we are executive producers who are given zero respect. And we've earned it.
Frozen.
Oh, look at Steve.
He's frozen at the moment.
I'm just checking my internet because it just keeps.
You know what you should do?
Everybody.
Just a suggestion: sell one of those stupid paintings and get a guy.
Let's see if he comes back.
Well,
it's a great freeze shot though of him. I think this is a good one.
Yeah.
Well, Anthony, let me ask you,
how big is your ego? And he.
Anthony, I'll keep the conversation going. But Anthony, what we were just talking about. How is it for you as the actor, knowing that Bill is right there as the writer, the director, that you can just ask a question? He's right there in the room with you. How is that, as opposed to like, oh, let's call the writers or let's call the producers who might be somewhere else?
It's really convenient. Oh, hey, welcome back.
I'm back.
It's really convenient to have someone who's just kind of wearing all the hats at once. I think he really has such a vision for all of it. And so when you come to him with whatever, like a creative question or a question about where this is going to lead to, he's really open and really receptive to mixing things up and creating a lot of space to be loose and have fun and ultimately just make the best possible thing. So, I feel like it's a good balance of him having a great idea of exactly what's going on, while also being really open to suggestion, being open to what it could be, what it could turn into. So I've always felt just, really, really wonderful about being able to ask him questions and work with him too.
I will say in the new season, there's a scene which we're reshooting. Anthony knows what it is. It's kind of a big scene for him that we're reshooting. And you can hear on the, we're editing it. And I'm going, God, does this work? I don't know if this works. And the editor goes, well, I don't think the actors were into it. And I go, why? And she plays it. And you can hear Sarah Goldberg going, why are we shooting this? And Anthony's going, I don't know. And then I come over and they, in the nicest way, was like, so Bill, why are we is it because, and they're being very polite and I'm like, I don't, and I give the most bullshit reasoning for the scene. And it's that thing you say when you have no answer. And then, I was like, well, thank God we have to reshoot that. And so it happens.
Think of the increase in viewers if we just put up what everybody said when they didn't think people were listening.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. They were very nice. They weren't like, Bill, what the fuck is this? But it was just kind of like, I just wrote a terrible scene. That's what
they were letting you know.
They were letting you know. Yeah, I wrote a really bad scene.
Marty, you touched on, learning lines and things. I wanted to ask about a specific scene in the season 2 finale for both you and Steve. It's the slow motion scene where you guys are trying to freak out Tina Fey's character, who you've been told freaks out and is very upset when she sees people in slow motion or things. and you start this physicality. Steve starts it, then you join, then pretty much the whole room goes. I was just curious how much work goes into a scene like that, especially because there's so many people in the scene, but also it's a scene that builds. Steve, can you talk to that first? Because
Well, that's
you kind of start
it's a well-written scene, so that makes it a lot easier. But in terms of the physicality, I mean, you start doing slow motion in your life when you're 7. You know, you just slow motion becomes a part of your, being a kid and funny slow motion. And then if you're a comedian, you're just kind of always doing slow motion in some bit. So, but I'm also 77. So as soon as you raise your right foot in slow motion, you can fall over. So you have to, be, it's actually quite an exercise, physical exercise to do slow motion.
It isn't so much for me, not that I'm young, but when you're, society deems you as timeless.
Yeah. It was, it's something you put together on the day. You don't really, go to a rehearsal hall for 3 days,
right?
Work it out.
Marty, what was your experience shooting that?
I think the same thing as Steve. I don't remember I don't think we did a lot of takes. I think there was a kind of a natural. I mean, the idea that she was freaked out by slow motion and tomatoes. I remember Steve had to cut a tomato in front of her.
Yes.
Panicking. So, I think the slow motion, if you're a physical person in comedy, is not a big leap.
Okay. Bill and Anthony, do you think about your character's physicality when the cameras start rolling, or is it just kind of inherent in you now that you're going in, you're in season 4 now?
Well, I guarantee you they haven't had to do something as tough as slow motion.
All right, let's get into it.
Yeah. You're avoiding slow
Shot has been a shot across the pond.
Yeah.
No, not really. I remember. I do remember season 1 when they were being in the room and pitching the show and saying it's about a hitman who wants to be an actor. He's a former Marine, and HBO saying, and who's going to play that? And I said, me. And they went,
Yeah.
Was he a computer guy, a Marine or something? But so I had to, exercise and try to look apart. But other than that, not really. Well, maybe it is kind of inherent in what you're doing, I guess. I don't know. Anthony does it, but Anthony, you're totally different as Hank. Like the minute Anthony can switch it on in a way that's really fascinating to all of us, where he can be chatting to you about whatever, and then you go action, and then he just becomes a different person.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Well, the physicality stuff, I had a ball just like getting that set, and doing the work of finding the physicality. I mean, it's really important to me. I noticed that whenever I feel like giving a bad performance, it's because I'm not in my body. I'm not actually tapped in. I'm too cerebral, or I'm cut off. And so whenever I feel like I'm not giving my all, I was like, I got to move around. I got to kind of dance or do something. And but the physicality was, born out of a few different things. And it's like, once I put on those super tight shirts and those really tight shorts and pants, it's just like
putting different shoes on you. Season 1, you ran off. You got a phone call and you said, I'm going to go do it, like in the scene, and you ran off and said, well, let's put different shoes on him. And just putting the different shoes on him, like he took smaller steps, and it was just.
Well, when Marty puts on tight shirts, I know he's going disco dancing.
It's Thursday.
It's not. He's not playing a part. He's just getting dressed up to go out.
Let me ask you guys this, because both these shows, they're aging. They're like Only Murders is in season 3, Barry's season 4. You guys have already shot. Will start airing. How important is it that every season you learn more about your characters, that you personally just get to know more of them that you haven't known before? I assume that's happening.
Well, that is the one thing that I'll always say to the writers, is that, because sometimes they'll write a joke that's funny, but then you have to say, but that's therefore who I am. if I would say that, therefore, that's another part of my character. Do we want that character to be that? So sometimes you do have to lose a joke because it just doesn't fit with what the character is, or it's telling too much information about it that you don't want.
Yeah. Anthony, talk about Hank. You know, in season 3, we got to see him in a relationship that was very loving, and we hadn't seen that before. And you know, so that's a new layer to him. But I'm assuming that's something that you all kind of look for and hope for. But can you talk about that, Anthony, for Hank?
Yeah, it was a really wonderful turn for the character, just to see him in more kind of intimate setting and see who he is kind of behind closed doors, and it opened up the character just to another facet of that was really fun to play, especially with you know, someone as brilliant as Michael Irby. He and I had just so much fun and such great chemistry, and a lot of just the, you know, the simplest scenes were you know, so much fun. I mean, just like lying in bed and eating popcorn. It's like, it speaks. It's like that shows a relationship, you know.
Right.
We were actually watching like Olympic weightlifting, women's Olympic weightlifting.
That's right. That's right.
Why is that funny? I don't know why that's funny.
They kept laughing, and we were like, "What's on the?" They go, "They're just actually watching something," and I
It was
was
just like, yeah, like the, you know, just women, just like, women like this tall were just putting up weight, and he and I were having this like, you know, really sweet moment. But yeah, it was.
we had to turn it off. We were like, "Put on something else." They keep laughing.
I know.
But Marty, I know I always love it when we see Oliver with his son, because I feel like that just shows another layer to him.
Absolutely.
Those scenes always mean a lot. And also Steve, your character with family or people you know he cares about. It's just it's nice to see as a viewer. I'm guessing you guys, that's a good thing for you as actors as well.
Oh, I think it balances the whole character. I mean, it is fascinating about comedy that if you're doing a comedy, no matter what you're doing, even something as broad as Father the Bride Franck, if you try to be funny, it won't be funny. But if you're sincere within the bizarreness of the character, then it's always, you have a shot at being funny anyway.
Yeah. Steve,
Well,
anything to add?
I mean, I think Marty and I'm talk for myself, have always walked a line between an emotional, you know, Father Bride's a good example of an emotional character that also does comedy, you know, and those moments between father and daughter or whatever character, and Only Murders, it's father and really kind of quasi adopted stepdaughter. But yeah, those moments are nice to play, you know, so you're not being funny constantly.
Yeah, that's always a struggle.
We wouldn't want that.
No, we wouldn't want to make them laugh.
No.
Fun to feel, and you know,
You want to make them laugh and then snatch it back.
feel and then say, "No, we are not your friend.
How dare you laugh?
You'll never know us."
Yeah.
And Bill, correct me if I'm wrong. I think you were writing seasons 3 and 4 kind of at the same time or back to back, so you were able to really get that through line. Did you kind of talk about or think about like, okay, this is Barry we want to see in season 3, and this is who we want to see him in season 4, just to see progression or change in that character?
Yeah, definitely. Yeah. And in the new season, the characters do, you know, they go through a lot. So, yeah, you know, you would kind of go, oh, wouldn't it be interesting if they go there? And then you just, a lot of times I find it's like you go to a certain place and you just start working backwards from that, you know, or you might hit an interesting, you know, but it's usually that's where it goes. And then in writing towards that, things start to shift and change. And it's really just about getting down to the truth of it. Like, well, what would these people do, you know, and not worry about, well, how's this going to be perceived? And, you know, is the audience going to like this or not? You just have to go like, I think this is what this character would do right now.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. All right. I've been asking all the questions. Do you guys have questions for each other? I mean, anything?
No.
You guys are on very different shows.
None of us
Nothing?
have any
No.
questions
Okay.
for the other
Zero
person.
interest.
No.
Zero interest. I don't know what Marty and Steve would tell us. It's not like I don't know.
Well, you know, first of all, I think we
No
all,
history.
Marty and I would give a lot of credit to our writers.
Yes.
You know, they have to, you know, do 10 episodes that link to each other, or, you know, they usually do 1 or 2 episodes per writing staff. And then where I have a great overseer, John Hoffman, showrunner, who, has to keep his pulse on everything, or his finger on the pulse of everything. He doesn't keep his pulse on everything. He keeps anyway, never mind. So
see, this is the kind of musing that happens on the set, and you can imagine how long the days seem sometimes.
I just want to ask Marty, is it still fun? Sure. Absolutely.
Wait, I have a question.
I'll tell you what's fun when you get that check.
well, I was going to say, it's unusual. Marty expects to be paid in cash at the end of every day.
Wait, I have a question. Marty, you said that you're learning lines today. So I'm just curious, is there anything that you do in terms of preparation? Like is there anything that you just hold very sacred in terms of like preparation that you need to do in order to feel good walking on set?
I just know that if I don't know my lines properly, the whole day is a drag.
Yeah.
And if you know them and it just flows out. So I always work like many days in advance. Then it's like if you do a show on Broadway and someone says opening night, boy, you're great. And you want to say, why don't you come back in 2 months when I'll really be pretty good.
Right. Yeah.
So that's, I do line learner and I walk around with, so if I'm, going to the market, I'm hearing lines, or I'm just doing the old thing of that thing,
Yeah. Okay. That's a good question, Anthony. I'll take that one from you. All right. Well, you guys, congratulations on your nominations. On behalf of the SAG-AFTRA Foundation, I want to thank you for sharing your
Jim, who do you
experiences.
think's going to win?
Oh boy.
I'm not voting. Your peers are voting. So I'll be happy.
But who do you think they'll vote for?
You, Marty, you.
You.
This is what I'll do if I get the award. I'll practice. Oh, baby.
Nailed it. That's it.
Thank you.
And don't forget to kiss it. You have to kiss the award.
You like me. You really like me.
Yeah.
All right. Thank you so much, you guys. That was great.
Thank you all.